Hey, are you thinking about moving from Washington State to the state of Arizona? Today, I'm going to interview a couple of my clients that just moved their family from Seattle here to the Phoenix Metro. They're going to tell you why they left Seattle, why they chose Phoenix, what they found when they got here. Did Phoenix exceed their expectations? They started out looking in Scottsdale. They're going to tell you why they ended up in this fabulous lake community. We're going to tell you where this is. And we're going to talk about the whole process and the streamlined process that made the whole move very simple. And we're going to get after it right now. And even today, like, is it what you expected? Like today, is Arizona in general, is it what you expected? Is it living up to your expectations? Okay. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Todd Co, founder of Phoenix Homes and Hotspots, right here in beautiful, sunny Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, if it's your first time visiting the #1 real estate resource here in the state of Arizona and you want to know everything there is to know about the great homes, the beautiful communities, and the top hotspots that surround them, all you have to do is subscribe to our channel right now, then smash that bell. That way we can notify you every time we create new popular videos right here on Phoenix Homes and Hotspots. Now listen, we're constantly getting phone calls, emails, and texts from new clients from all over the country, from all over the world. They want more information about the Phoenix Metro, Scottsdale, the East Valley, the West Valley. They want to know more about the communities, the hot spots that surround those communities. So if you're moving to Phoenix, Arizona, or the Phoenix Metro, anywhere in the Phoenix Metro, or thinking about moving to the Phoenix Metro, all you have to do is pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. That way we can be your key to AZ. All right, so thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate really appreciate you taking the time to jump on this call and give people that are thinking about moving from Seattle some insight of what that move's like from the state of Washington to the state of Arizona. How are you guys doing? Are you settled in? What's going on over there at the house?
Yeah, we're great. I think we're getting used to the Arizona sun. We're getting a lot of it here in the summer so far. How do you feel so far?
Yeah, we like it. We're having fun exploring all the new restaurants and parks and things to do around here and enjoying our new house.
Nice. So you're settled into the house? I mean, it's been like, what, 3 months?
Yeah. Almost 4 months.
Yeah. Almost 4 months.
Yeah.
You're feeling settled. You're feeling, and you've been in pretty much the entire summer now. So some of it, you're probably not getting quite as much outdoors as you'd like, but that's right around the corner.
Yeah. We're looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah. With our 3-year-old too, we've been hitting up a lot of Chuck E. Cheese lately. So he's more interested in that. We do parks in the morning and sometimes in the evening time, but yeah, look forward to seeing more than just those places.
There's a place over in the East Valley, I think it's called, coincidentally enough, I think it's called Famous Jake's. I don't know if it's still there or not, but that might be a place to look into. That place is a lot of fun. It's over there in the East Valley. So
nice.
Anyway, so you moved from Seattle to Phoenix. I know that was a big move for you, and it was kind of a big process, just the thought process of wrapping your heads around it. I know that you had family back in Seattle, and we actually talked. I grew up in Kirkland, so. What was that? What made you decide to make a move from that rainy city of Seattle to this beautiful sunny city of Phoenix?
Well, the prospect of more sun was definitely appealing to us. We lived in a townhouse in West Seattle, where we basically had the yard the size of a postage stamp. So it was nice to have more space. So we have a house now that has a big yard and a pool. So just having more space was definitely something that we were interested in, and also still being close to our family and friends back home in Seattle. This is about a 2-hour and 15-minute flight from Seattle to Phoenix. So
right,
just knew we wanted to stay on this side of the country.
Sure. So weather was a big factor, and then You moved from a townhouse in pretty much downtown Seattle. What was the size? Can you give us kind of some insight? Like, what was the size of the townhouse? How much? I know it didn't have very much yard. And then what did it sell for? If you don't mind sharing that.
Sure. So our house was 1,808 square feet. It was a new build when we moved in, so it was only 6 years old.
Okay.
3-bed, 3-bath. We listed it at 575 and it sold for 635.
Okay.
So,
good. And then we bought here. When you bought here in Phoenix, you obviously got a big yard, you got the pool, and then your purchase price square. Do you remember your square footage there?
3,200.
Okay, about 3,200. What is it? Is it a 4-3 or a
5-3?
5-3. It's 5-bedroom, 3-bath, big yard, lots of grass, pool. You have the community lakes and kind of the walking trails around there. And then do you remember what your purchase price was here?
632.6.
632.6. Okay, good. So whether bigger and then the value was there as well for you. Do you feel, is that part of kind of, you're getting more for less? Is that part of the way that you felt, or more for kind of the same at least?
Yes, I would say definitely the affordability was a huge driving factor for us. Daycare costs are more than $500 less per month as well.
Wow. Okay.
So between our, being able to have this large house, paying the same amount that we were paying for our 3-bedroom, 3-bath townhouse, and the lower daycare cost, that was huge for us. That's where a lot of our expenses are.
Yeah. So overall cost of living and property taxes, I'm pretty sure significantly less here than they were there for you.
Yeah.
So, okay. Were there other cities that you had explored? I mean, when you said, hey, it's time to leave Seattle, we've made this decision, we're going to move our family, it's in the best interest of our family, it's in the best interest of our son. Were there other cities other than Phoenix that you had looked at?
We had looked briefly into Spokane, although both of us have never really been to Spokane. But we knew that it was kind of in our budget range, but it was a big jump for us too, because we had never been there before. And Tacoma was another place that we were thinking that we might look at, but again, we're not super familiar with that area either.
So you were considering staying in state, but did you do a lot of research on those two areas, or were they just kind of things you're like, hey, this would keep us a little closer to home and in state? What was the process there?
Yeah, exactly. Because at first we weren't thinking that we were going to move kind of across the country, but those were kind of the areas that appealed to us, that we could afford. Any other thoughts?
Yeah. So just light in terms of research, just light looking online at housing in the area.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's about it. We definitely were most excited about going to Arizona.
Okay, cool. And so how did you find us? How did we connect?
So I found you on YouTube. I was searching just for videos about the Scottsdale area. And I remember specifically the first video I watched was your Living in Scottsdale virtual tour of the city. And so you went on Google Maps and you basically gave context of the whole city of Scottsdale, in terms of, popular hotspots, things that locals typically do, kind of the lifestyle of each different neighborhood and area. And so it really helped us kind of bridge a connection to the place without actually like having to be there. And so I got super excited when I watched that first video, and then I watched it again with her. I shared it with her afterward.
That's awesome. You know what's funny about that? I know, Hoku, you and I have talked about this, but I almost didn't publish that video. When I first did it, it was a lot of work. It was when I first started kind of experimenting with Google Maps a little bit. So I always try to create different styles of video to keep people engaged and keep them interested in everything happening. But when I was finished with it, it was like 40 some minutes. It was basically just a Google Maps, my voice walking you through Google Maps, taking you from location to location. And when I was done, I'm like, this video really sucks. And the funny thing is, it's one of my most popular videos now. So it's like, thank God I actually published that video, because I really considered scrapping that after I was finished with it. So
Yeah, it really
interesting.
helped us make a decision to move down here. It honestly did, because that's a big decision to make, and it helped grease the wheels, so to speak.
Gave us confidence that you knew the area very well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were there other videos? So, one of the things that we tried to do is like spider web them. I always say spider web them. I don't know why I say that, but to where, people will call us and say, hey, I've been binge watching your videos, right? So one kind of leads into another that leads into another, because the whole idea with YouTube, which is what people are watching right now, right? With Phoenix Homes and Hotspots, was to shorten that learning curve. Exactly what you just said, right? To shorten the learning curve where you actually kind of feel like you know the area before you get here. Were there some other videos? I mean, did that spin into some other videos, or did you watch that and say, oh, we got to call this guy?
I definitely binge watched several videos. The other one that stands out is the school district open enrollment video, and that was somewhat of a tour too, as well.
Yeah, it was
Down of a few different districts and how that open enrollment works. Because that, school districts and choice was a big factor for us as well.
Okay, perfect. So from there, you found us on YouTube. From there, do you remember kind of the process we used? And again, kind of going back to something I just said, the biggest thing for me is, how do I shorten your learning curve so that, because one of the things that we found before YouTube is a lot of people like, we're going to come out and rent for 12 months because we don't know the area. And so the whole purpose with our process now is to help you understand the area, so you don't spend 12 months in a rental and throw away the equity that you could have built, or just the hassle of renting in general. So you found us on YouTube. Do you remember the process that we used after that to kind of get you dialed in before you ever got here?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. You sent us a list of questions just related to home purchasing. And we filled that out together, and we met with you online, did a Zoom session similar to this, and walked through those questions together, where you helped us kind of set up a dashboard, so to speak, of our purchase criteria, and navigated us through different options going through that as well, where we had thought we had a good idea of what we wanted already, but you helped us kind of expand on that a bit with your insight and expertise.
Yeah. So the questions that we sent it starts out with lifestyle, because we really want to know what your interests are, and then it goes into kind of the home and the purchase price and all that other stuff. So combining all of that, and then we jumped on a Zoom call like this and just literally walked you through different areas, and then showed you what your purchase, and then used the MLS to show you what your purchasing power looked like. Was that beneficial to you? I mean, did you feel, in other words, did we accomplish our mission with that? I mean, I'm really curious. The feedback is awesome. Did you feel like before you ever got here that, hey, we're going to buy because we actually feel like we know this area? We haven't been there, we haven't seen it yet, but we feel confident enough based on what Todd knows about our lifestyle, what he knows about the home we're looking for, that the areas he's going to show us are the right fits for us. I mean, do you guys feel pretty confident when you came out here that you at least had a good foundation?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go ahead. You want to?
I was just going to say, yeah. When we were doing the consultation, you were kind of pointing us in the right direction to places that you think that, would vibe with our lifestyle, and directed us away from places that you thought wouldn't be a good fit. And so we knew that everything on that little map was somewhere that we wanted to be. So when we came down, we felt confident.
Cool.
And I think all of the areas were nice that we looked at. We were considering Peoria, we were considering Chandler, Scottsdale, Gilbert, and
looking back at the entire process, I think now that we've gone through it all, that first step was a crucial building block for us, because it really helped narrow in our focus on what we were looking for. We were on a pretty tight timeline. We wanted to find a home efficiently. And so, going through that process and having your guidance really helped along the way.
Nice. So the 4 areas you discussed, interestingly enough, and the reason that we actually ended up on those was because school districts was one of your top priorities.
Yes.
So, Chandler being number 1 in the Phoenix Metro, Chandler being 1, Scottsdale 2, Gilbert 3, and Peoria 4, which is why we kind of landed on those areas, because there were some other things in those areas that were of your interest, but school district being a huge priority for you guys. So that's
Right.
kind of how we narrowed that down. And then we spent several days looking. So you called me in regards to Scottsdale. You had a huge interest in Scottsdale because it does have a good school district, and because there's a lot to like about Scottsdale, right? It's very centrally located and there's just a lot to do. So we started our home search in Scottsdale. However, you didn't actually buy a home in Scottsdale. So when we searched Scottsdale, what were your thoughts? I mean, what was kind of your takeaway in when we actually looked at homes and neighborhoods and just in general, just drove through Scottsdale?
So I was really drawn to the houses that were completely remodeled, that almost kind of felt like you're walking into a brand new house, even though they were built in the 50s or 60s, but loved the look of those. The other types of houses that are in Scottsdale, though, that aren't remodeled are usually a little bit quirky, and maybe not kept up as well, maybe have a random step when you walk in. And I kept fearing that one of us was going to fall every time we walked into any of those types of houses. But obviously, those remodeled houses are very popular. Everybody loves those types of houses, and those are the ones that go quick, and they're the ones that have the highest price tag on them. So
Right.
what was I going to say about that? Can you?
Yeah.
Continue?
So what we liked in Scottsdale, what we didn't like was the just all that competition over the stuff that we liked. And so the other point is that the houses that didn't have the competition didn't quite fit our criteria or check a lot of our boxes in terms of what we were looking for in a home.
Mm-hmm. And plus, just they were more out of our price range.
Right. Yeah. So it was really competitive and still is, right? So it's competitive. Prices, the prices were a little higher. I mean, you were paying a little bit more for what you got. And just to let people know that are watching, when you say that the homes were quirky and stuff, so we were searching kind of south to central Scottsdale, where the homes are a little bit older. So as you get further north in Scottsdale, the homes get newer. But based on where your budget was, and actually your lifestyle interests as well, between your budget and your lifestyle interests, south to central Scottsdale was really the right fit for you if we were going to do something in Scottsdale. So just to kind of clarify that, because you're right, those homes are older. So the remodeled ones are really nice. The ones that aren't remodeled can have just, walls, just kind of almost like puzzle pieces getting through the house, kind of how homes were built back in the 1950s. So. Mm-hmm. So yeah, or weird little steps going in or whatever, that might be kind of what you were alluding to. So, okay, so we ended up in, so kind of going back again, you called me about Scottsdale. We went through the process. I recommended other areas, which included Chandler, Gilbert, and Peoria. So we explored all of those areas and we ended up in Chandler. Why did we end up in Chandler, but more specifically, why did you decide on Chandler, and specifically maybe even that location in Chandler, which is kind of a pretty convenient location as well?
Definitely the accessibility was huge. It was very close to Old Town Scottsdale, which we love to go out there and eat and shop. The airport is only about 15 minutes away from where we landed. And we both travel a lot, me especially for my job. So that was very important to me to be close to the airport. And for me, when I think of this area, like I always am drawn to Scottsdale. So I wanted to be within close proximity to Scottsdale. And Peoria, for example, that one felt really far away from kind of the center of where we wanted to be. Gilbert, when we started driving out that way, I don't know if you remember, Todd, but I was like, ooh, this feels really far. I don't know if we could that, even though it was just a little bit further than Chandler, it just felt too far for us.
Sure. Yep. I remember.
And just Chandler has like everything that we wanted. There's so many parks around us. There's so many restaurants, places to grocery shop, and we just really liked it. It just felt like home.
Yeah, and your neighborhood's like really quiet. It has those little lakes and a little park in behind your house. I mean, there's some cool things like, but yeah, the accessibility. I remember the accessibility was a big one because you're like, you guys loved Old Town so much. And we actually talked about the fact that, hey, you know, from this location in Chandler, if you went a little bit further north in Scottsdale, you're almost equidistant to Old Town. If you were in North Scottsdale or not north, but kind of that north central Scottsdale area that we were looking at versus that Chandler location, you really were pretty equidistant. Because it's just a straight freeway shot pretty much up to Old Town Scottsdale from where you're at.
Yep.
So that was
kind
of
of
cool.
Love that north central Phoenix area that we were looking at, but the inventory was just very low at the time that we were looking. But yeah. I would probably be happy there too.
Yeah. And so Chandler being the #1 school district, one of the challenges, which kind of a challenge, and I don't know exactly how you guys have, this is kind of interesting because we haven't talked about this, but the schools that are kind of assigned to your neighborhood weren't necessarily the best of the Chandler schools, we determined, right? Mm-hmm. But we also talked about, and Hoku, you mentioned it earlier, right? The video that we talked about was school choice and some of that stuff. And so, so even though it's a great school district, the cool thing is, yeah, the schools right there might not be the best of the best in Chandler, but you are in such a great school district that you have school choice. Have you guys thought about, and I know Jake's not quite there yet, he's still pre-K, but have you guys thought about that, or how does that factor in? Because schools were so important to you guys. How does that factor into what you think you might do in the future with as far as schooling?
Yeah, I think we appreciate the flexibility that's offered down here. So we are open to looking at public options, doing open enrollment, and potentially, you know, driving a bit further out of our direct school district that we're in. There's also private schools, preparatory schools, just right nearby
Charter,
us.
STEM.
Yeah, and then yeah, exactly. And so there are many options. We haven't started to dig into all of them too seriously, but we have started to think about those things. Yeah, as now he's getting closer to kindergarten.
Yeah. Okay. And is he doing preschool now, or coming up on? Is he doing preschool now?
Yeah, preschool.
Yep, he's in preschool in the Ocotillo area, so it's about a 15-minute drive from.
Awesome, and great area, beautiful, beautiful area. What was the home? Okay, so you made a fairly quick decision. You're like, hey, you know what? We're going for it. We're moving. You came out on a mission to find a house. You know, we thought we originally had a day on the calendar, and we ended up, I think, 3 days on the, 3 days, and we did it. We made it. And so what was that home search process like? So we went through everything online. You watched the YouTube. So going through the process again, you watched the YouTube videos. We did our Zoom call. Now you're here. What was the process like for you now that you're actually seeing it live and in person? Did it kind of feel like what you thought it was going to feel like, or what was that process like?
Sure, then I'll chime in.
It was exciting and adventurous to just be in a new place, a place that's pretty different from what we're used to, but also very it's information overload. For me, after 10 houses, they start to just kind of blend into the same one, and so it was a balance of focusing on what we wanted, what's important, again, checking those boxes, without getting too distracted by stuff that we knew that we ultimately would not be into.
Yeah, and so do you remember, like, we kind of eliminated, what did we eliminate? Do you remember? We kind of just eliminated one right out of the gate. Do you remember what it was? The city?
It was Peoria right out of the gate.
Peoria, right?
And it was kind of like, decided it was just too far.
Yeah, it's quite a ways northwest, and we looked at some nice neighborhoods. It was just quite a bit further than all the other stuff. So we eliminated Peoria. And then, I mean, was Scottsdale, so kind of going back to Scottsdale, was it exciting to you? I mean, was it what you thought it was going to be? Like you saw me do this virtual tour on YouTube. And of course there's other videos that aren't virtual tours, but you know, you're watching this virtual tour. When we're on the ground and we're looking at green belts and shopping areas and restaurant areas and all this stuff, was it what you thought it was going to be? I mean, was it cool? Was it like, what was that like? And even today, like, is it what you expected? Like today, is Arizona in general, is it what you expected? Is it living up to your expectations?
Okay.
I think so. I would say that we were more familiar with the Scottsdale area just because we vacationed there. It was the other areas that we had no knowledge
Okay.
about. So Chandler is definitely a different feel than Scottsdale. It's more of a neighborhoody type feel to us, more like the suburbs, I guess.
Yeah.
But
so livability in comparison, for me, the perks are, you know, the traffic is much different down here. It's maybe, you know, a little bit lighter, but also the roads are bigger. There's, you know, 3-lane streets and, you know, highway loops around the city. And so it's really easy to not only do stuff close to us, but, you know, get around and go do stuff that's a little bit further out as well. We've had really fun days visiting the aquarium and kind of that event space center outside of Scottsdale with our son. And
The Arizona Boardwalk.
yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah,
And
that area is
the
cool.
Arizona Boardwalk. And so a lot of the family friendly activities are also easy to get to without, you know, an hour plus of traffic
Yeah.
and waiting and things like that. And so in terms of that ease, it helps us be more relaxed when we do have time off to do family things.
Right. So was I going to ask you? Yeah. I wanted to ask you something about that and I lost my train of thought. So one of the things that I always tell people when they when they come is that you can use whoever you want from a loan standpoint, right? I have no financial or vested interest in who you use, but our goal and our focus is always to streamline your process. Our focus is, number one, to save you money, right? But number two is to make sure that your process is really streamlined when you go, you know, when you go through the buying process. In other words, having that tight communication and having a team around you as opposed to having a bunch of random people that have never worked together. So I introduced you to Tammy Fisk, who is somebody that I've worked with here for years, almost 2 decades now. I mean, literally going on 2 decades now. Here in Arizona, she's my go-to for loans. You know, as real estate agents, we always talk about, hey, mine is the best. And of course, most aren't, right? But Tammy, literally, I believe in her. I mean, I'm very particular about who I refer my business to. People ask me for property managers that are investors. I'm like, you know, I'll give you a few names, but I'm not vouching for anybody, right? Because they're so busy and the service is, But Tammy is literally the best. What was your experience? I mean, were you happy? I know you were kind of looking at going your own direction with that. I said, hey, you know, throw Tammy into the mix. Let's see what happens. How did that process play out for you?
The decision factor for us was that she knew the Arizona guidelines versus the previous person who we had worked with, who we loved, was more familiar with Washington. And so we were on a tight timeline. We didn't want any bumps in the road. And so that was what made us go with Tammy as a decision. But really, after working with her, Tammy is awesome. Like, she really, she guided us through the process of what could be, I would say maybe stressful obstacles that might come up through the purchasing process, whatever it may be, inspection, appraisal, loan qualifications, things like that. And so she was, not only did she guide us through that like a champ, but she helped us get through a kind of a hairy period and into a really successful close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good, perfect. Yeah, like I said, for me, I always want people to have the freedom to do what they want, but we find that more times than not, when they go their own direction, that we run into some really sticky situations that can be tough to get out of. And in our situation, we actually did run into a pretty sticky situation at the end, that she worked kind of her miracles, and we ended up not only kind of putting a really good deal together from a financing standpoint, we were able to negotiate a little bit more money off your house as a result too. So that was kind of cool and exciting as well. So so good. Oh, I remember what I was going to say earlier. Hoku, you were talking about traffic. And so I don't remember if we discussed this specifically when you guys were here, kind of talking about the process of looking at homes, but the two things that people really talk about a lot with the Phoenix Valley, and specifically with areas we looked at, I mean, it doesn't matter where you're at in Scottsdale, but people always comment on how light the traffic is, right? Outside of rush hour, but how light our traffic is because the city's so spread out. And then the other one is how clean everything is. So I don't remember if we talked about those things, but that was kind of, when you're talking about kind of that process of looking at homes, it seems like you guys might have commented on that, but those are two things just for people watching that when you come out here to expect, right? Our traffic is really, really, for compared to most cities is pretty light, and areas are really clean.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was just back in Seattle for a week with my son and definitely noticed all of the garbage on the side of the road. That does not exist here.
Yeah, we do a good job. I mean, I think overall there's definitely some areas, but the areas that most people are looking in, we do a really good job keeping Arizona nice and clean. Is there anything else, just kind of wrapping up, is there anything else, I mean, that somebody moving from Washington to Arizona that you think they should know that we haven't discussed? Anything that was part of your process, or anything that anything else that you think would be valuable for somebody that's considering that move?
Yeah. So,
as my landscaper, by the way, arrives, and can you hear him?
Of course, it's always on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
I would just say to plan for maintenance and repair costs, especially if you're going to buy something that's not a new build, and or pay for things that we didn't necessarily need back in Washington. For example, air conditioning. So right when we moved in, we knew we were going to have to replace both air conditioning units in our house, as well as, the cost of running them. That's another expense.
Sure.
Pest control is another expense that we did not have back in Washington. Pool cleaner, and also, we needed a water softener for the hard water down here. We didn't have that back in Washington. And something interesting that we learned is that water heaters only last about 5 years here. One to 5 years.
They have a shorter lifespan.
1 to 5 years compared to Washington.
So plumber is going to tell you that. That's not necessarily true. I don't think I've had any water heaters that have lasted less than 5 years, but and that might have something to do with the water softener. So typically the water softener is going to help your appliances live longer, like your washer and things like that. So the water softener definitely helps some of those appliances since our water's so hard here. Going back to the AC, one of the things we kind of knew that going into it, right? Because we did a home inspection on the front end, and we kind of just knew that, the AC units are kind of old, and we're going to have to do that going into it. So at least we were prepared. You had a little equity from your home in Seattle to do that. And then your pool, how much are you paying somebody to do pool maintenance monthly? What's that running at?
$125 a month.
25, which is about right, give or take $10. And then what else? What were some?
Oh, the pest control for scorpion friends.
Yeah. Among other things.
Any scorpions?
We've seen a few. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you
on the green
powder. I told you about that powder, which you want to put on the cracks of your door. I don't know if you found it, or I'll actually, when we're done, I'll text you with.
To be fair, they've been in the backyard, not in the house. So.
Okay. Yeah. You're going to see them from time to time. It's part of life, but keep that spray. I think, how often are you doing the spray? Every couple months or every month?
Every 2 months. Yeah. It's $85 for someone to come out. And then if you see any other pests in the meantime, then they'll come out for free. And
you should be able to get your pest control actually as low as, I think I pay like $50-$55 for every 2 months. So you should actually be able to get that cost a little bit lower. So remind me, and I'll get you a different company to go out and check that out. All right, cool. Hey, look, I really appreciate you guys, and I'm glad everything's working out for the family. And I can't wait for Jake to be able to play in that backyard when it cools off here. It's been like really hot. So pretty soon, I'm sure he'll be just living in that backyard. But anyway, thank you again for taking the time. I really appreciate you guys, and we'll catch up. I'll get you a name of a pest control company, and that little powder. I can never remember the name of it, but the powder keeps the scorpions out of your house. I promise.
Right
Sounds
on.
good. Maybe a name of a water softener as well.
Do you need to replace it?
I think so.
I have a guy. So I'll hook you up. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
All right.
Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you know what to do. Subscribe to our channel right now, and then make sure you smash that bell so we can update you every time we create new great videos and content here on Phoenix Homes and Hotspots. Now listen, if you're moving to the Phoenix Metro or thinking about moving anywhere here in the Phoenix Metro, all you have to do is pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. We're going to be happy to give you tours of the area. We'll take you through our favorite communities. We'll introduce you to some great spots to find the best homes, as well as the hot spots. So we're going to introduce you to the lifestyle around some of the homes that you might be interested in. So again, pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and that way we can get you all squared away. Now check out some of my other popular videos right here.